The Magnificent One is brought to you by Giant Eagle. We at Giant Eagle salute this brave and legendary sportsman and invite you to learn more about this hockey great. And by KDKA TV Sports. You've got the best seat in the house.
What's the program?
June 1993, the NHL Awards, the last official function of the hockey season that was. And 1 week before Mario Lemieux will marry, a last official function of other sorts.
22nd, I think. Gotta take an elevator. Yeah.
The year had begun with a celebration of a second consecutive Stanley Cup. And with the game's best player, there were heady expectations in Pittsburgh for another.
I'm giving him his award, so you have to give it to him. I'm Peter Timmons.
Yeah, Peter, how are you?
All right.
Nice to see you.
Go on.
Here, I'll take it. Thanks, Leo.
I'll put
All
you a bit.
How you guys doing, all right?
Great, man.
All right.
Can I ask you a question?
Quick shot right here.
Are you human?
There
Seriously?
you go, buddy.
How are you doing?
Nice to meet you. All right?
Nice to
Thanks,
see you.
Nice to see you.
Hope everything goes right for you.
Thank you.
Because I'm going through that session right now.
Are you?
I've got it pretty well conquered.
It was an improbable 3 months that saw Mario Lemieux move from radiation treatment back to the ice. There, he quickly recaptured the form that would yield another NHL scoring title, while placing the Penguins on the threshold of becoming hockey's next dynasty.
Somebody wants your autograph from California.
Please. I'm a big fan. Come on, huh?
Thanks.
That's it, huh? Hi, how are you?
How you doing?
Good.
Feeling good?
What to do going, huh? Kind of.
Been working on it. You feeling good?
Yeah, not bad.
Good.
Doing better.
It simply was not to be for Lemieux and the Penguins, who struggled in the playoffs. A bitter confrontation with New York's Islanders in the Patrick Division Final had seen Penguin fortunes hang in the balance. In the end, though, the New Yorkers shocked even themselves. In a season of upheaval, it was fitting that this night was Mario Lemieux's. First, the Masterton Trophy, recognizing perseverance.
I'm very proud to have this honor. Certainly want to take this opportunity to thank all the fans across the National Hockey League who have supported me really when I needed it back in January. Thank you for all your letters and cards and support, and see you next year, I guess. Thank you.
Moments later, a second, the Art Ross for leading scorer.
Mario Lemieux.
Finally, a third, the Hart Trophy, given to the NHL's most valuable player. Former Hart winner and Montreal Canadien great, Guy Lafleur, would make the presentation. For Lemieux, the moment resolved his childhood ambition.
This certainly means a lot coming from my idol, Guy Lafleur. I used to watch him back in the 70s, Guy, on TV, and I really enjoy watching you play, and you were my idol for a long time and still is my idol.
Congratulations.
No player in NHL history had ever won each of the Hart, Art Ross, and Masterton trophies. Yet Mario Lemieux had captured all three in one remarkable year. It is little wonder that Lemieux dominates the game of hockey. At 6'4" and more than 220 pounds, he cuts an imposing presence on the ice. There have been big players before, but none could do the things that Mario Lemieux does.
He makes everything look so easy, even the hard plays, he makes it look so easy.
Right from the start, Lemieux demonstrated an uncompromising devotion to the extraordinary.
He does things with the puck that no other person in our game can do that.
By simply moving the puck from one side of his body to the other, a reach of more than 16 feet extends his superiority.
He just takes over a game. He's just a dominant force.
With an almost deliberate ease, he foretells each play before it unfolds. Quietly, knowing where to be, when to strike.
His size, his strength, his reach, he's got speed and finesse. He's basically just an incredible talent.
Still, it is the sheer artistry of his play that captivates. Scoring goals when they should not rightfully be scored. Seizing the moment. Eclipsing the best players in the game.
He scares teams, you know, on the defense as well as the offense. I mean, he's an intimidating force.
But the harsh demeanor of hockey has exacted a toll.
With his back, it depends. I mean, if he gets a clean bill of health and, you know, he keeps himself in good shape, he can be dominant for the next 5 years, no question.
For Mario Lemieux, uncertain health hasn't discouraged his will to succeed.
Our only objective is to win the cup and regain the cup here in Pittsburgh. I think we have the players and the talent to do it. It's just a matter of keeping everybody healthy, and I think that we have a pretty good chance to do it.
Mario Lemieux always knew what he had wanted, and upon ending an illustrious Junior A career with Laval Voisin, it was apparent to all around him as well. The bright lights and big dollars of the National Hockey League beckoned. Pittsburgh's sad sack Penguins, who called an igloo home, were Mario's chief suitors. As hockey's worst team, the Penguins held first pick in the 1984 amateur draft, and it was clear to everyone who they were taking.
It's going to be tough a couple first year for the team because the Penguins have 3 choices in the first round, so it will be good in 3 or 4 years because, you know, they got good players in Pittsburgh.
Penn's GM Eddie Johnson knew better than anyone. Lemieux would be his bad team's savior.
Eddie Johnson came in Laval and he talks to me after the game, and he said that I will be his pick.
Nobody watched Mario more than I did that particular year. I think I maybe spent half of our season down there looking at him, and you know, but it wasn't very hard to pick Mario Lemieux because he was by far the best player that year in the draft.
Further hesitation.
When draft day came, appropriately right in Mario's hometown, Eddie Johnson surprised no one.
Is Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, Le premier choix de Pittsburgh, numéro 66, Mario Lemieux.
Protocol dictated that the NHL's new chattels sport their future jersey. But Mario had a contract squabble with the Pens, and he wouldn't be paraded.
There was a big difference at the time in the contract, so I was advised by the people that I was working with at the time not to go down to the table to take a stance, and certainly did that. And sometimes you regret what you do when you're younger, when you're not mature, but that's the decision that I took at the time, and I'm certainly going to live with it.
Within a week, the two sides had come to terms, and the Lemieux had come to Pittsburgh. There was never any question that Mario Lemieux would play in the NHL, but there was considerable doubt whether he would dominate as he had in junior. He served notice quickly, his first shift in his first NHL game. A few nights later, early in the opening home game at the Igloo, with those closest to him in attendance, Mario made his mark in an unexpected manner, engaging little-known Gary Lupul in an old-fashioned fistfight on ice. The fans loved what they saw. The Vancouver Canucks were hardly amused.
That was my first fight in the National Hockey League. You know, when you're young and you try to make an impression on the city and the fans here in Pittsburgh, you do things that I normally never did in junior.
Pittsburgh responded. Penguin games that had been half full before were sold out now. Mario Lemieux was the reason. The 18-year-old French-Canadian had made hockey exciting again. He'd given the Penguins the prospect of building a champion, and he hadn't wasted any time doing either. There was not much doubt now the vitality of hockey in Pittsburgh rested with Mario Lemieux. It wasn't long before the hockey world was measuring the young centerman's prowess with that of player of the age, Edmonton's Wayne Gretzky. Mario, the rookie sensation, proved to be an adversary worth noting for Gretzky, with an eye-catching performance in the mid-season All-Star game. 2 goals and an assist made Lemieux game MVP. That first season in the U.S. wasn't all so easy. Though Eddie Johnson had found Mario a temporary home with the Matthews family, he left behind his best friend and sweetheart, Nathalie Asselin. He missed her dearly.
I think he was very homesick. He missed his family a great deal, and Natalie. I don't think we realized then how difficult this whole transition was for him.
The Matthews remain close friends and regulars at Penn games. Tom Matthews remembers well how tough it was for Mario.
The language was a big barrier for Mario at the time because he's such a proud person. And he didn't want to appear that he didn't know what he was saying or that he said it incorrectly. So rather than do that, he didn't say anything.
But the quietly confident rookie understood his role as the faltering franchise's last hope.
The man cannot say no to the autograph.
If Mario hadn't come, we wouldn't have hockey in Pittsburgh. And suddenly on an 18-year-old boy's shoulders, that's a heavy burden. I sense as time went on that Mario was able to accept that in his own quiet way. And he still does it in a quiet way.
Having been separated, Mario and Nathalie's bond strengthened, and by year 2, the couple had set up house in Pittsburgh.
Girlfriends weren't really welcome at the Matthews house. That was the rule of the house, which is fair. But no, we moved to a condo, and Nancy helped us find the condo, and we just settled in and brought our cats down, and that was it.
Today, Pittsburgh remains home for Nathalie and Mario Lemieux. They have only recently moved to the stately suburb of Sewickley, intent on securing a retreat from superstardom. Mario has made every effort to keep public profile and private life distinct.
He's a hockey player, and he's very good at it, but that's not who I'm living with, and that's not who I married. I married the person, just the private person. that person who is a good father, who is very funny and very private.
But celebrity doesn't come without obligation. Mario Lemieux knows that. He makes numerous charitable appearances each year and, ironically, has been spokesman for the Pittsburgh Cancer Institute for 6 years now. Lemieux is not often seen anywhere in public without a legion of admirers. Even the quietest moments are subject to compromise by the curious.
It's pretty tough going out. We haven't been in a movie theater for like years. Restaurant, we always go to the same restaurant because the owner knows us and they just put us in a corner. And, but I mean, that's the price you have to pay.
My privacy is very important to myself and my family, and I've always been that way, to remain very private, and sometimes it's tough because of what I do and what I represent to the fans and the city here in Pittsburgh, but for the most part, the fans are pretty good about it. They know that from over the years, from learning from myself, that I'm very private, and I'd like it to remain that way.
Some would have it otherwise. Lemieux's intense protection of his private world has made him the subject of criticism over the years.
Thank you, okay? No problem.
He remains resolute.
I just don't pay too much attention to that. I know that the people that are close to me, my family, my friends, know my character, and they know what I'm all about, and that's the most important thing to me. You know, there's a lot of different things that people are going to say about you, and you can't stop them from saying that.
Lemieux finds himself most at ease around aspiring hockey players. Having known a similar dream as a youngster, he understands the importance of role models.
Certainly try to do as much as I can, especially for little kids that come up. Try to spend some time with them and talk to them a little bit, and I'm sure that they will remember that for the rest of their lives like I did.
Where's he going?
While in past years, Mario has been on the ice, this summer back surgery has said otherwise. He is still on hand to share stories and promote enthusiasm for the game he loves.
Trevor? Where's Trevor? Trevor? All right, buddy. Congratulations. Catch chocolate all over the place. That's all right, huh? There we go. All right, Zach. There you go, buddy. I'll sign it right afterwards, okay? That's for me? All right, thank you. Who we have? Jesse. Jesse Taylor?
The children are always most interested in hearing how their hero made it to the big leagues.
Yeah, I was pretty good when I was 10 years old. You know, I got good through spending a lot of time on the ice and practicing and playing with young kids like you guys, and I was pretty good when I was younger. But I certainly worked at it.
Where was your first rink?
My first rink? I grew up in Montreal in Canada, and we used to have a couple of rinks near my house, and I just started to skate outside.
Lemieux fashioned his game from an early stage on an outdoor rink close by the family home in working-class Montreal. Hockey was a passion from the beginning. Saturday nights at the Lemieux were always spent with the red, white, and blue of Les Canadiens. Pierrette Lemieux fondly recalls the winter day she was summoned outdoors to see a young boy impressing onlookers.
I go outside, there's my Mario. He didn't want to cheer. It was natural for him on the ice. He went on that way and continued to do great things on the ice. It was natural for him.
Because of Lemieux, the Hurricanes of Villemard became renowned. Even Canadiens coach Scotty Bowman came to see what all the fuss was about. Mario's skill made him a budding celebrity, sometimes found in the circle of his idol, Guy Lafleur. By the time he was ready for junior hockey, his bedroom had become a shrine of achievement. Before his 16th birthday, Mario Lemieux had joined Laval of the Quebec Major Junior League. Its teens had a penchant for a high-scoring brand of hockey. Young Mario fit in well. With a turn on Gretzky's ever-familiar 99, he trademarked the inverse number 66. His puck handling dazzled opposition and audiences alike. Lemieux was a gate attraction, filling houses wherever Laval played. A rivalry with Verdun star Pat LaFontaine developed. The two were the subject of almost constant debate. When LaFontaine joined the NHL the next year, Lemieux became the sole focus of Eddie Johnson's scouts.
Mario to me is a great hockey player. He's got moves as good as any, well, as good, better than any hockey player in the National Hockey League. I think he's going to be a great asset to us in Pittsburgh Penguins.
In his final year at Laval, Mario Lemieux knew the splendor of the NHL was close at hand. So did opponents who wanted one last shot at him. The media got in the act, chastising Lemieux for not accepting an offer to play in Sweden over Christmas with the national junior team. Lemieux stood his ground firmly.
I made my decision, and they seem to be not happy about my decision. And, I don't know what to say about that.
There were cries he was unpatriotic and threats of suspension. Mario was unmoved.
Last year, I went to Russia with Team Canada, and I have a bad experience. And I don't want to go again for a bad experience.
While his last few months in junior hockey carried the weight of controversy, Lemieux had managed to supersede even the wildest expectations. He'd averaged more than 4 points a game, scoring 133 goals. In his final year, Lemieux shattered Lafleur's junior scoring record, counting 282 points.
I think it was a turning point at the time. I think it just came at the right time in my career. Being a part of a team and knowing what it takes to win and what it takes to be successful. Learning how to win with guys that have won cups in the past, Gretzky, Messier.
At that time, he was just getting to the point where he was going to flourish as a true superstar.
Lemieux led the tournament in goals, Gretzky in points, and they were magic out there.
They had them play in the same line. Both those guys fed off each other. They just, they went to town.
The 1987 Canada Cup convened all the top players in hockey on 6 international sides. It was here Mario Lemieux's reputation gained prominence. Teaming with superior players for the first time, Lemieux went on a scoring rampage. Led by the combination of Gretzky to Lemieux, Canada went unbeaten into the Cup championship.
In on left wing to Bourque, Mario Lemieux shoots. He scores! Mario Lemieux! Canada has the lead for the first time.
A 3-game final against the Soviet national team would provide a sterner test.
I think the Russians are a much better team than the Czechs, and when they get 2-0 lead, they're pretty hard to play against.
For 3 hot September nights, there wasn't much else in Canada that mattered. The Soviets had stunned Canada in overtime in Game 1. And Game 2 went into a second extra period.
puck into Gretzky. Gretzky cutting in, centers to Lemieux. Shot it wide, drops behind the net. Out to Murphy. Murphy to Gretzky, hit the post, rebound. They score! Mario Lemieux! Canada wins. The series is tied.
It was the biggest goal in a young career. The third and deciding game was intense, and when the Soviets grabbed an early 3-goal lead, Canada was in trouble. The Canadians proved resilient, though, and with a little over a minute to go, the score was tied, and overtime loomed. The rest is history.
Lemieux ahead to Gretzky. Has Murphy with him on a 2-on-1 to Lemieux. Hit him goal. He shoots. He scores! Mario Lemieux with 1:26 remaining.
For a new generation, Lemieux's goal became remembered on the level of Paul Henderson's in Moscow 15 years earlier. Amid the hoopla, there were rumors that Wayne and Mario hadn't got along during the tournament.
There was no jealousy. We had a great thing going for the last few games anyway. We played together for the last 2 games, and we had a lot of fun out there.
Lemieux ahead to Gretzky. Has Murphy with him on
The experience with Gretzky had paid off for Lemieux.
You know, Gretz is a great team player, and you know, at the time he made some plays that were right at the time. Even though it was myself that was there or somebody else, he was going to make the same play anyway.
I didn't see any jealousy. I never saw anything in the room. I never saw anything off the ice. You know, it was just a mutual understanding that you know, Mario wanted the top spot, and Wayne wasn't going to give it to him, and that's makes superstars, that competitive edge.
After the Canada Cup, it was apparent that early comparisons between the two stars hadn't been premature. While Gretzky had been rewriting the record books with the powerful Edmonton Oilers, Lemieux had been skating with the still lumbering Penguins. Things were about to change. Lemieux brought a newfound confidence to the Penguins from his Canada Cup experience. He had something to prove. Mario was tired of losing. He wanted the Penguins to become winners, and he went about seeing they did exactly that. The maturing Lemieux began to gain recognition for his new accomplishments.
It's always nice to be compared to probably the best hockey player that ever played the game.
Number 99 noticed his heir apparent's game resembled his own.
A lot of similarities, but the most obvious, I think, is the fact that his ability to pass the puck and be able to see people at certain times, and the softness of his hands. I think to be an effective centerman, you have to be a playmaker, and he's a good playmaker.
After the Canada Cup, Mario the Playmaker won his first scoring title, while Wayne was winning his last Stanley Cup in Alberta.
I'm disappointed about having to leave Edmonton. I truly admire all the fans and respect everyone over the years.
The move to Los Angeles put Gretzky in a hockey wasteland. And despite some of the old magic, there was little doubt now that the natural order of things on ice had been indelibly altered. Gretzky's reign over the NHL's most prized trophies was rudely interrupted by Lemieux. A quiet rivalry developed, with things not quite as cool as they sometimes seemed. The challenge of matching up with Gretzky now appealed to Lemieux. Before a hometown crowd in the 1990 All-Star Game, Mario scored 4 times, the first just 21 seconds into play.
Wales threatened to strike early. Here's Mario, backhands it in. Shoots and scores! Coming back, tied up Joe Nieuwendyk, and the Wales Conference gets the puck. Mario right in front. Oh, what a beauty! There's Lemieux with a shot at his 4th goal.
The timing for Mario's performance couldn't have been better. The All-Star Game was on American network television for the first time. And for the first time, Mario Lemieux's hope of making the Penguins winners appeared unencumbered. But the physical nature of hockey had an adverse effect on Lemieux's young career. Opponents reasoned that if you stopped Mario, you stopped the Penguins. He was pounded relentlessly. His lower back became a problem. Finally, in the midst of an assault on Gretzky's 51-game scoring streak, he could suffer no more. The streak ended in New York at 46 games. What followed next has become frustration without end for Mario Lemieux.
In '88-'89, I started to miss some game because of back problems. Eventually had some surgery a couple of years later, and been fighting back problems for the last 5-6 years.
His problem actually was a very complicated one.
Penguins physician Charles Burke inadvertently discovered the back problem in an insurance physical.
At the end of the physical, this was actually added as an addendum. He complained, he said, oh, by the way, I'd had an episode or 2 of back pain in the past. So someone picked up on that and said, well, maybe we ought to do a CT scan of his back just to be complete. And they found in what we call an asymptomatic herniated disc.
Lemieux hadn't really had back problems before. He had only been occasionally annoyed by minor aches. Yet examinations revealed a severely herniated disc. In the ensuing weeks, Mario was given medication and a battery of lower back exercises. He might not require surgery if things went well, but the CT scan had, unfortunately, found more.
At the same time was also found on the opposite side of his back a stress fracture or a small break in one of the small bones in the back. The small break in his back is most likely hereditary, but can be caused from the constant hitting flexion position that hockey players are in, because we see the same type of injury in professional football linemen.
Lemieux worked in therapy for more than a month. It was no good. On July the 11th, 1990, he had the back operation. By training camp, the scar tissue around the herniated disc had contracted an infection. In fact, there was concern that, at age 25, Mario Lemieux's career might be over.
Well, it's very difficult on myself, especially at this time of the year and at this time of my career. It's tough to go through, but you know, I have to do whatever's best for myself and my health. During the season, I went through back surgery, then the infection came along. I was in bed for about 3 months. I didn't know if I was going to play hockey again, or let alone play hockey, just walk again.
In late January, undaunted, he returned. Though missing the first 50 games of the season, Mario wanted desperately to play. He was reaching the peak of his physical abilities and could not bear the thought of sitting out.
Lemieux makes a little move, shoots and scores!
The decision was his, and as long as he wanted to play, we tried to do what we could for him. And, you know, we did caution him at the appropriate times medically when we thought that he might be causing more damage, but I don't think that time ever truly arose where he was at risk of greater damage. There was many nights we literally picked him up off the training table and would sort of propel him out into the locker room to go out and put his equipment on, and he would be playing at 25%. And he was still better than everyone else.
The 1991 playoffs saw the Pittsburgh Penguins come of age.
The center penalty coming up. Look at Lemieux. Oh, my heavens. What a goal. What a move. Lemieux. Oh, baby.
Even with Mario Lemieux playing, few imagined the Pens had the mettle to advance to the Stanley Cup final. As always, the playoffs produced furious action. There was concern about Lemieux's back handling the rigors. Unlike before, the Penguins proved more determined, eliminating Boston in a tough 6-game series and advancing to the final. It would be Mario Lemieux's first Stanley Cup final, and coach Badger Johnson knew he needed his star healthy. The Minnesota North Stars had gone to the Cup playing a roughhouse variation of the sport. Their aggressive style might not be to Lemieux's liking. But Mario was not about to be intimidated. Lemieux dominated the final series like he did the playoffs before. He scored 44 points in just 23 games, going pointless in only one of them. And his back had kept him out of but one other. The performance made Lemieux the Conn Smythe Trophy winner as playoff MVP. Badger Johnson would later remark that Mario Lemieux had established himself as one of the truly great players in hockey history. And Lemieux had finally achieved what he and the Penguins had hoped for that June afternoon in Montreal when Eddie Johnson called his name.
It's a dream come true to win the Stanley Cup. That's what you work for all your life. When you're growing up, practicing every day, working hard, you get on the big team. You know, that's what players are in the National Hockey League for, is to win championships.
Mario Lemieux had overcome a great deal in this first Stanley Cup year, and the power of the moment was never more evident than when he held Nathalie in the dressing room shortly afterwards. Mario had flown his parents to the game, and his mother saw how special this was for her son.
When he won the Stanley Cup, I saw the look in his eyes. It was the same look he had as a little boy when he wanted to win.
Lemieux had attained his goal and finally silenced the harshest critic of all, his own nagging self-doubt. The victory made for a joyous flight back to Pittsburgh later that night.
Get that camera going. The big boy's taking one right now. Come on, Ace! Ace! Yes! Marty! Okay.
When the newly crowned Stanley Cup champions returned home, thousands were on hand to greet them. They were just the first to do so.
The Penguins had brought home the city's first ever Stanley Cup, brought the cup back to the U.S. for the first time since 1983. And
not since the New York Islanders won their 4th cup had an American team been champion.
On behalf of the team, I'd like to present you with this sweater of the Stanley Cup champions.
Thank you very much.
The Stanley Cup euphoria would be short-lived. By late summer, Bob Johnson had been diagnosed with multiple brain tumors. In November, he passed away. The Penguins would not forget Badger Johnson, nor would Mario Lemieux. The new season saw the Pittsburgh Penguins respond as champions. There was an air of confidence now, and despite missing 16 games, Lemieux again captured the NHL scoring title. The Penguins entered the playoffs as strong favorites to win another cup. But then fate struck. Adam Graves' slash early in Game 2 of the Patrick Division Final broke a small bone in the back of Lemieux's hand. Only a few months earlier, Mario had strongly denounced the NHL's tolerance of dirty play. He had been fined. His vindication now seemed somewhat ironic. He would miss the next 5 games. The Pens eliminated the Rangers as Lemieux and new team owner Howard Baldwin looked on. There was yet another triumphant return. Mario had been fitted with a special glove and cast. The injury hardly mattered. The Penguins swept Boston aside in 4 straight games. It was anticipated that the Stanley Cup final with Chicago would be close. Hawks coach Mike Keenan's Chargers always played a physical brand of hockey. But the Penguins simply outclassed them, winning their second consecutive cup in 4 games. Mario Lemieux again was the difference, making big plays with skillful assurance. He was again named playoff MVP. This Stanley Cup was different from the first. The Penguins had been expected to win, and Mario Lemieux had been expected to dominate. Neither had disappointed. The mark of true champions, back-to-back Stanley Cups. And when the Pens gathered at center ice that night, there was a sense that they were far from being done. That week, fans paid tribute to their conquering heroes at Three Rivers Stadium. The opportunity to commend his captain didn't go unnoticed by winger Phil Bourque.
And how about Mario, our 2-time MVP? I think he deserves $4 million a year. Mr. Baldwin, don't you agree?
Most were amused, though Pens chairman Howard Baldwin would do much better for Mario Lemieux. Baldwin had seen Orr and Gretzky get traded, and Bobby Hull jump to another league. He wasn't about to see his star fall victim to the same fate.
Mario Lemieux is now signed to a lifetime commitment with the Pittsburgh Penguins Hockey Club.
Lemieux signed a $42 million contract, making him the highest paid player in the game.
This is certainly a great birthday present, Howard. Thank you very much. I am very excited to have the opportunity to be in Pittsburgh probably for the rest of my life.
The agreement made Mario Lemieux and the Pittsburgh Penguins partners. There would be shared revenues and new marketing initiatives and strategies using Mario's name.
Yes, it's the largest contract in the NHL. There's no doubt about it. It should be. There's only one of them.
I was very fortunate to sign that contract and work with Mr. Baldwin at the time. He's a very good friend of mine now, and we spent a lot of time together.
We get along just great. And to be able to maybe generate some, not maybe, but to generate more revenues for Mario and generate more revenues for us. And we've been able to do that. And we did it first with this kind of a contract. Now I see a lot of other teams trying to do the same thing.
One team was L.A. Word was that Gretzky had cut a 3-year, $25 million deal, but large sums would be deferred.
I don't think anybody really knows what it is. And when we look at it and we see what it is, then we'll make a decision. I will always do right by Mario. But I want to see that Mr. Gretzky's contract all laid out and see these wonderful numbers on a piece of paper so that I understand it.
Baldwin and Lemieux have formed a powerful alliance in an era when sport is sometimes dogged by owner-player mistrust. It was early in the new year when the Penguins called a press conference concerning Mario Lemieux's health. There had been press conferences before, but this one was different.
This is not about hockey. This is about a very precious human being who is going to recover. First and foremost, we would like to express our enormous gratitude to all members of the media for the fairness and sensitivity you have shown during this very trying time. He was shook, I was shook, the whole world was shook. I mean, you couldn't not be shook.
Team physician Charles Burke made the distressing announcement.
The CT scan on January 6 revealed an enlarged mass in his neck that was separate from his salivary glands. He brought the swelling in his upper neck to our attention approximately 2 weeks ago.
I noticed a lump in my neck about 2 years ago. It was very small at the time, so I didn't think anything of it.
As he would extend his neck up, he would begin to almost catch his razor on it.
That's when we had some tests done, MRI and CT scan, and he suggested to remove what was in my neck.
I looked at him and I said, it really does bother you. You don't want it there, do you? And he said, I'd like to have it out.
We recommended removal, which was done under local anesthesia on January 8th. Pathology was reviewed by a recognized Hodgkin's expert, Dr. Robert Hartsock, and the diagnosis of nodular lymphocyte predominant type involving a submental lymph node was made. The diagnosis has been confirmed by other experts in the United States.
I said, you have Hodgkin's disease, and basically explained to him what it was.
I was shocked, just to hear the word cancer. It's very scary when you're sitting in the office with two doctors and they tell you to sit down. What they're about to tell me is, not a good thing, and then they tell me all different kinds of things to help me cope with it. So it was very difficult for a few days to accept that I had cancer, and it was certainly a tough few days in my life.
It has been recommended that he undergo 4 weeks of radiation treatment.
The scary thing that occurred in him was when we did several of the tests, abnormalities showed up elsewhere. What appeared to look like a node showed up in his chest, and what appeared to look like further disease showed up in one of his lungs.
During his staging workup, a lower respiratory infection has been identified. This will be treated with antibiotics.
So our decision at that time was, do we go and biopsy these areas, which would have put him out for the season, or do we wait 2 weeks, put him on antibiotics, and assume it's an infection?
But there was much more to worry about.
There's been a couple of my uncles that did have cancer and died from it. That was a few years ago.
Lemieux's family also had a history of Hodgkin's disease. A cousin in her 20s had only a few years before died from its effects. Mario remained optimistic.
I faced a lot of battles in my life since I was real young, and always came out on top, and I certainly intend to do the same with this disease.
Leaving the press conference that day, Lemieux was unsure whether the casually mentioned lung infection was cancerous. Few knew of the dire situation. Mario had been having his best year. Hockey would have to wait now. It seemed a faraway thought, and never further than when Mario confronted Nathalie with the news.
I came back from the doctor in the morning, and the whole way back I was crying. I didn't know how to tell her, and got up the steps, and I was fine. As soon as I saw her, started crying, and I couldn't stop crying for at least an hour. And all that time she didn't know what was going on. She knew that something was bad, but didn't know exactly what was wrong, and finally had the courage to tell her.
And he just broke down in tears and said that he had Hodgkin's, and I didn't really understand it. And he explained to me that one of his cousins had Hodgkin's and had died from it. But I just couldn't believe it. I mean, he was fine, he was healthy, and he just looked normal. And I just didn't believe that he was sick inside.
the medical center in Beaver, Pennsylvania, a short drive from Mario Lemieux's house. It was here on February 1st that the superstar became a cancer patient and began the prescribed 4 weeks of radiation therapy. Using an assumed identity, Lemieux arrived each morning before 9 a.m. He was fitted into a mask and underwent treatments run by oncologist James Hughes.
He was really very calm. Obviously, when somebody tells you you have a malignant condition, you're in your late 20s and you're king of the heap, it becomes a shock. And then initially, obviously, the one thing is you think it's a sentence of death, and then when people start telling you, well, it's not as bad as you imagine it is, and that the cure rate is really very high, I think he relaxed and he seemed to accept what we were proposing, and he was really a very compliant patient.
Each treatment would last precisely 5 minutes and would have to be repeated identically every time.
It's very important that when these patients are treated each day, you can reproduce the treatment position very accurately. So we make what's called an immobilization shell. We made this thing that exactly fitted Mario's face and his upper chest. And each day he would be fitted into that mold.
Once strapped into his shell, Lemieux was alone. The radiation room sealed off from the outside world by 7-foot-thick concrete walls.
Even though I was on a table getting some radiation, I didn't think about the cancer.
It would be difficult to think of anything else as he was radiated in the neck from 3 sides.
I was trying to think about positive things and not thinking about too much about the cancer, and that's basically how I got through it.
The tattoo markings on Mario's chest were a grim reminder of his condition. As treatments wore on, he occasionally tired, at times finding it difficult to complete workouts. Maintaining a brave exterior, he returned to Montreal for the NHL All-Star Game. NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman had asked Lemieux to attend the game as a special guest of honor, and Mario's hometown greeted him with a 2-minute standing ovation. A few weeks later, on March 2nd, Lemieux chartered a plane to Philadelphia. Only hours after his last dose of radiation, he was on Spectrum ice. He had missed 23 games in all. While Lemieux would not yet be physically in shape, there was concern whether psychologically he would ever possess the same determination. He delivered the answer with his first goal since the start of January. Mario Lemieux had indeed returned.
Will mark the return of the Civic Arena of center iceman Mario Lemieux as he comes to play before the home folks after missing a couple of months with Hodgkin's disease treatment, radiation treatment, and also the bad back. But tonight, all the emotion comes to the Civic Arena in Pittsburgh as Mario Lemieux comes back to play.
Lemieux's homecoming was only his 3rd game back. In New York, he managed to play but 5 minutes. Early on, his foray into the Boston zone created a goal in a 3-2 Penguin win. In the weeks that followed, Lemieux scored in bunches. In a period of 16 games, he knocked in 27 goals. At the same time, tallying 51 points. An average of over 3 per game. It was as if he had never been out at all. The performance was nothing short of amazing. Lemieux's maneuverability had been compromised by back pain, and he still carried the ravages of cancer treatment. But wanting badly to win a 3rd cup and defend his scoring title pushed him. An old rival, Pat LaFontaine, had passed the injured Lemieux to lead the scoring race. By the time Mario reappeared, he trailed LaFontaine by 12 points. There was little over a month to go in the regular season, and many doubted if Mario could catch LaFontaine.
the scoring race over?
Not that I know of. Not that I know of.
They should never have questioned Mario Lemieux. This night alone, he banged in 5. In only 60 games, he had 69 goals. His 160 points won the title over LaFontaine by precisely 12 points. A 24-point turnaround. Since Mario's comeback game at home, the Pens had gone on an unbelievable 17-game winning streak. The team's 119 points were the most by anyone since the heydays of the Oilers. On the eve of the playoffs, everyone knew Pittsburgh was, again, the team to beat. Pittsburgh has a long tradition in sport. Bill Mazeroski won a memorable World Series at Old Forbes Field here, and football Steelers have won 4 Super Bowls. Now, Mario Lemieux has joined the greats on the city's wall of champions in the downtown core. The fans of Pittsburgh wouldn't want it any other way. Mario's peers in the sports world respect the relationship he has with the community.
Mario definitely exemplifies what Pittsburgh is all about. He's a hard worker. He's a great player, first of all. You have to appreciate his abilities. But one of the things that you like most about him is that he's good to the fans. And anybody that is that big in a community and is still very personable to the fans is a tremendous person.
Lemieux was back in charge as last year's playoff got underway. The Penguins had entered the Stanley Cup round unbeaten in 18 games. And they took it to the New Jersey Devils at every opportunity. Mario's play recalled previous cups. Only on occasion were the Devils able to slow him down, usually relying on questionable tactics to do so. There was concern. Lemieux was aware that his back could only withstand so much, and the playoffs, hockey's second season, could go on for almost 2 months. It was over quickly, the Devils yielding in just 5 games, and Mario and the Pens eyed their next opponent. Washington would be preferable. The Pens had always had trouble with the Islanders. Back in the 70s, the New Yorkers had come back from 3 games down to eliminate Pittsburgh. It wouldn't come easy. Mario knew that. The Penguins had struggled all year against the Islanders. While there was no comparing the 2 teams' talent, the Islanders worked hard. They wouldn't beat themselves. Mario's back began to act up again. He had been skating with pain. Shortly after the first game was underway, he would be unable to continue. Lemieux would not dress for the second game.
But the nature of this thing is, as quickly as it sometimes comes on, it goes away just as quickly.
Yeah, that's what's been happening for the last couple of years. The sharp pain comes, and the more I play, the worse it gets, and then I have to stop playing.
Mario remained optimistic he would return shortly.
Scotty was optimistic that he would try it. Yeah, I'll be all right.
He had no idea his back would seize up by morning. The next day, he could barely get out of bed. After playing only briefly in New York, Lemieux underwent traction to stretch his muscles, took medication to ease the pain. It worked. Now with the series tied at 2, the Penguins had home ice and momentum. They wouldn't take long to capitalize, scoring 3 early goals in succession. This night, the Penguins would coast to a 6-3 win to take the series lead, but not before the mood of things changed considerably. There was bad blood, and it would spill over to New York 2 nights later. Mario felt the weight of the series on his shoulders, and what's worse, with a sore back, he felt it slipping away. Though he managed a goal, it was the Islanders who forced the 7th and deciding game. With the Penguins back home for the 7th game, Pittsburghers were confident of victory. After all, they were the Stanley Cup champions and had won big games before. The team was accorded a rousing reception, and they came out determined to put the Islanders behind them. And but for the New Yorkers' last line of defense, they would have. Then, the unthinkable. Kevin Stevens, knocked unconscious in midair, had his face strike the ice. He was rushed to hospital for emergency surgery. And when Mario hit the goalpost, it was obvious Penguin fortunes wouldn't change. The Penguins would score first, fanning hopes. But the Islanders would score in sudden death overtime, closing the season with a deafening silence for all but an elated few. In a year of extremes, Mario's health frustrations were tempered by the arrival of a baby daughter in April, and his marriage to Nathalie Asselin in June. They were wed in Montreal's majestic Notre-Dame Cathedral. Father Michel Fortin, who had known Mario since his childhood, presided before several hundred of their closest friends and family. Mario had met Nathalie when he was 17. She was only 15. They both knew from that moment that this day would come.
C'est le Super Mario. C'est Mario le Magnifique. Ils viennent juste de découvrir, à cause de tes exploits et parce que tu es le meilleur joueur de hockey au monde.
Nathalie, je te donne cette alliance en signe de notre amour.
It was a traditional wedding, and as they had wandered away from the spotlight of celebrity. If there is one sport other than hockey, it is golf. A scratch handicap Mario plays every day in the off-season when there isn't a commitment.
There you go, sir. Hi, how are you? You play hockey?
I play floor hockey.
Floor hockey. Are you good? Score a lot of goals? No? Defense?
I knock people down.
All right, buddy.
Those two kids in wheelchairs over here.
The Collectors Convention in Chicago. Literally thousands are on hand to meet Mario Lemieux. He is announcing a new agreement today, one that has been carefully considered by Mario and his partners.
I really believe that Leaf hockey cards have the best product on the market, and that is the main reason why I decided to associate my name with Leaf hockey cards.
Bill Barnes and Richard Chimura oversee the marketing of Mario, and they take a very deliberate approach.
We sit down on a regular basis and we talk about opportunities that I know exist and whether Mario would like me to go to the next step up the ladder with it. And there are certain parameters that I operate within, and nothing happens until Mario has explained the entire program and he signs off on it.
Still, with all the notoriety and money hockey has given him, Mario thinks of only one thing.
Your health is the most important thing in the world. Doesn't matter if you have a big house, you have cars, you have money. It doesn't matter if you don't have your health.
What will you undergo more back surgery?
Next Wednesday, I'm going to go through back surgery again. I'll be off for about 6 weeks. And then,
In late July, Mario Lemieux underwent back surgery again. It was felt that scar tissue built up from previous operations was causing the problem. Now, the game has asked him for yet another comeback. At 28 years of age, Lemieux is working harder than ever before to get back.
Ladies, going early here. Come on.
As the Penguins began the new campaign, Mario Lemieux waited in the wings. A new season brings new hopes and the question of when Mario will return.
as long as I'm going to be successful, as long as I'm going to be able to do the things that I'm capable of, I'm going to play, and hopefully my back's going to remain in good shape for the next 5 years, and hopefully I'll be able to finish my contract, which will end in about 5 years.
One day, Gus Bally told me, which number are you going to have in the junior? So I said, I don't know. He said, why don't you pick 99? I said, no, everybody is going to say, you know, he's trying to look like Gretzky. So I say, I take a 66, upside down.
Well, I can get, I think, a lot better than I am right now. I don't feel that I'm playing as high as I could play, and you know, that's gonna come with the experience. And give me 2 more years in the league, and I'll do pretty good. Yeah, it's a natural talent, I think, and still you have to work hard. You know, I was going at the rink almost every night, outside rink, and I was skating for 2 or 3 hours and playing with a puck, and you know, I practiced some long hours. I started when I was real young. I was 3 years old when I started skating. I was 6 years old when I started to play for a team back in Montreal. So I just remember skating around in the outside rink and skating with my brothers and you know, doing a lot of stuff. So you know, as early as I can remember, I always had a stick and a puck and some skates. Well, I certainly know what little kids are going through when they meet me or they get an autograph from me, because I did the same thing when I was younger. When I had a chance to meet some of the players from the Canadiens, I had a chance to meet Guy Lafleur, who was my idol back then, and I knew the feeling that I had, and so I certainly understand what they're going through, and I certainly try to do as much as I can, especially for little kids that come up, try to spend some time with them and talk to them a little bit, and I'm sure that they will remember that for the rest of their lives like I did.
How did it feel to win the Stanley Cup your first in 1991?
Well, that's how you know, when I was younger, like you guys, that's all I wanted to do is win a Stanley Cup, and when I finally had a chance to do it, it was a great feeling, and I think you guys should be working towards that if you want to be a professional hockey player, is to spend a lot of time on the ice and work hard and try to be the best hockey player that you can, and that's how I got to be a professional, is to do all that stuff.
What do you think about when you're going down the ice on an open breakaway?
On a breakaway, I just take a look at the goalie, see where he's situated in his net. If he's out, I'm going to try to deke him. If he's back in his net, I'm going to try to pick a spot and shoot on him. So the main thing is just to see where he's positioned in his crease. Guy Lafleur was certainly my idol when I was younger. You know, from growing up in Montreal, seeing the Canadiens win all those cups. Lafleur was the best player in the world at that time, leading scorer all the time, making some great plays, a great team guy. Always admired him, and I had a chance to meet him when I was 12 or 13 years old for winning an award. And the Canadiens were there, and Guy Lafleur presented me with the award, and that was a big thrill at the time. Well, there's always a lot of pressure in life. Whatever you do, you have a lot of pressure. You know, pilots get a lot of pressure. Everybody's got pressure in life to be successful, and you know, I just happen to be a hockey player and have pressure that way. But pressure doesn't really bother me. I've been dealing with pressure for a long time, since I was real young. You know, I was always the best in the league, the best in my team. People were looking up to me to make the big play, score the big goal, and win championship, and win scoring titles and all that stuff. So I guess I grew up with a lot of pressure, and I'm used to it by now. Not really. You know, it's always a game to me, at least. You know, money comes along with it, fame comes along with it. But when I step on the ice, I want to have fun and enjoy myself like I did years ago. It was difficult to accept at the time. You know, I guess fame came along with the years that I put in the game, and just working my way up to being a superstar, I guess, and that took a few years. I tend to stay away from the spotlight as much as possible. That's why I don't do too many of these interviews a year. You know, my personal life, my privacy is very important to me, and that's why I don't let people get close to me. Well, I never imagined that I would make that much money when I came to the pros back in '84. You know, the top players in the league were making 250, 300, 400, and even Gretzky was not making that much at the time. So I think the sport really grew the last couple of years with, you know, Gretzky being traded to Los Angeles, signing a big deal for $3 million a year, and right after that I signed my big contract, and recently just signed a big contract with Pittsburgh, and I think the game has changed the last couple of years. Well, I think that's what the market offers right now. You know, Gretzky's making $3 million a year. I just signed a new deal that pays me close to $6 million a year. So, you know, that's what the market offers right now. I don't know if I'm worth it or not. It's up to you guys to decide. The more you mature, the more you understand about the business side of hockey. And first, when you grow up, it's just a game. You don't think about the business side. You don't think about the money. You just want to play and enjoy yourself. But the more mature you get to 22, 23 years old, you start to understand all those type of things. And you know, sometimes it's tough to understand. But the more you go in life, the more you learn, and better off you are. Yeah, I think it was a turning point at the time. I think it just came at the right time in my career where, you know, it was my 4th or 5th year in the league, and came at the right time, playing with great players every day, practicing with them for a month, learning how to win with guys that have won cups in the past, Gretzky, Messier, great players like Ray Bourque, Paul Coffey, all these guys, and just being a part of a team and knowing what it takes to win and what it takes to be successful certainly taught me a lot, and came back to Pittsburgh and used that for the next few years at least. No, we were just trying to win. You know, Gretz is a great team player, and you know, at the time he made some plays that were right at the time. Even though it was myself that was there or somebody else, he was going to make the same play anyway. So you know, there was no jealousy. We had a great thing going for the last few games anyway. We played together for the last 2 games, and we had a lot of fun out there. Well, I think I did the second year that we won the Stanley Cup. I had a very good year. I was pretty strong for the most part of the season when my back was in shape, and the second cup was a great feeling also. But the first one, I think, was more of a great feeling because it was unexpected at the time. We were not supposed to win the cup that year, so it was certainly a great feeling to win it. You know, it's a dream come true to win the Stanley Cup. That's what you work for all your life. When you're growing up, practicing every day, working hard, you get on the big team. You know, that's what players are in the National Hockey League for, is to win championships. Well, that was certainly our plan at the time. You know, we finished the season very strong. We were looking good in the playoffs. But, you know, things happen in sports where you can't win every year. But certainly our goal was to win the Stanley Cup, and we certainly tried everything we could. But, you know, we played against a pretty good young team that play very well in the playoffs, a hot goalie, and that can beat you at any time. But that's sports. You're not going to win every year, even though you got the best team in the league. You know, you're not going to win every time. Well, there was a time the last couple of years where it happened a few times. It happens once in the final against Minnesota, where I went down to tie my skate and my back locked up and I couldn't do anything. So it happened a couple of times last year in the playoffs also against the Islanders. So
That's why I had the surgery last year to repair some scar tissue in my back. There was a herniated muscle, some bone spurs, so there was a lot of bad stuff back there. So hopefully that's fixed, and I'm looking forward to playing a season at least 70, 80 games. With my back, we don't really know. From day to day, one day I can be fine, next day I can't tie my shoes or get out of bed, and doctors can't explain it. It's been that way for a few years, for 3-4 years, and you know, we keep searching every day, trying to do new tests on my back, and you know, it's all negative. So you know, nobody knows what the problem is with my back. I noticed a lump in my neck about 2 years ago. It was very small at the time, so I didn't think anything of it. It was just around the neck area. So I just didn't think anything of it. I showed it to a team doctor a couple of times, and it was real small, so there was probably just a cyst, or you know, there was nothing to be alarmed. When I went out with my back a few months ago, I had a chance to take a second look at it. It had become very large, and every time I shave, I had to go over it and really notice that it was growing from day to day. So I decided to have surgery on it, and then 2 days later, found out that I had Hodgkin's disease. First of all, I got in my car and tried to drive home, which was very difficult. I was crying the whole time, and you know, didn't really know what to think at the time. I was just trying to get home, and first I was not going to tell Natalie for a couple days, but got home, saw Natalie, and started crying right away, and you know, didn't really know what to say. So it took me a good hour to tell Natalie that I had cancer, and you know, she was shocked, but she took it very well. She didn't cry. She was very supportive of myself and the cancer, and you know, she was great throughout the whole thing. Every time you know, you hear something like cancer and it's happening to you, really hits home, and tells you that you're not Superman. You know, that your health is number one in life, and whatever comes after that is really gravy. No, it's hopefully in the past. You know, I had a checkup a couple months ago. Everything was fine. I don't think about that stuff anymore. I'm looking forward to the future. Well, I think it was very important for myself and my family and the Penguin organization to do something for cancer. And Howard Baldwin came up with the idea of having my own foundation, which I certainly agree right away. We put the foundation in place, and then most of the proceeds that we're going to raise through the foundation is going to go towards cancer research, and we only thought it was appropriate after everything I went through. I was certainly looking forward to it. I love kids. You know, I grew up in my family with my cousins, little kids, always around me, always playing with them, and certainly enjoy them. So I was looking forward to have a little kid, and I was fortunate to have a girl. Yeah, I think so. I think I'm doing a pretty good job so far. You know, I get up in the morning sometimes. Most of the times it's Natalie, but I try to do as much as I can to help Natalie to raise our little child the way it should be.
So now, when we ask Natalie, is Mario Lemieux a good father?
Yeah.
What's she say?
I think she's gonna agree with me. Yeah, I'm very positive. I think that's the way I grew up. That's the way our family is, and then you know, you can get through a lot of things if you're very positive in life, and that certainly helped me to get through adversity in the past.
Mario, thanks a lot for doing this.
My pleasure.
The Magnificent One is brought to you by Giant Eagle. We at Giant Eagle salute this brave and legendary sportsman and invite you to learn more about this hockey great. And by KDKA TV Sports. You've got the best seat in the house.